Once upon a time, there was a man named Kickman. Now, this man had a very special power. He was able at any time to kick with the full power of a moving train. Now, this was a very, very frightening power for anyone who was an enemy to Kickman, but fortunately, he was a good guy. And not only that, he was a cool guy too. I mean, he could kick things with the force of a moving train. And second to that, he was also cool because he had a sidekick. And this sidekick wasn't any old sidekick. It was a hedgehog. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hedgehogs are pretty cool. Maybe they're blue, can run really fast. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but this is a regular hedgehog. It's kind of small. It looks like a porcupine without any sharp things on its back. Kind of cuddly if you really think about it. But Kickman needed some cuddles on his side because he was violent normally. Now, it's his only power. He can only kick stuff. And every now and then you need a hero that can do more than kick and can actually provide some cuddles. If someone's crying, they don't need kicked. They need a hug. So that's why Hedgehog came along. Kickman and Hedgehog, the greatest hero team you've ever heard of. But then, one day, as they were going about their hero duties, out of the sky fell a milk bottle. Now, this milk bottle was full of chocolate milk, and it was the size of a house, and it fell out of the sky and landed on the ground. Now, this was quite a shock for the people of the town. They looked over and they said, "Whoa! It's a giant bottle of chocolate milk falling out of the sky, and it's the size of a house. Quick, call Kickman and Hedgehog." Kickman and Hedgehog instantly showed up. And there they saw the bottle crashing into the ground. It was so large, it took a long time for it to break. But it was starting to break, and it was going to cause milk to fly everywhere. Well, they couldn't have that. So Kickman did what he did best. And he ran with the speed of an average man and then kicked with the force of a very, very fast train. And he kicked that milk bottle harder than you've ever seen anything kicked before. And it exploded into the air. And wouldn't you believe it, out of the sky, like rain, fell chocolate milk over the entire town and beyond that town to all the towns all around. It was amazing. They were covered in chocolate milk. The kids left their school and their classes, and they stopped their playing, and they looked at the sky and opened their mouths and just said, "Ah," and drank up all the chocolate milk they could as it rained from the sky. And we think, of course, this is a good thing. Why is it ever a bad thing to have that much chocolate milk in the sky? Well, it's a bad thing because there was two other creatures there that night. In the sky, flying, right when the explosion happened, was a flying squirrel. Now, this flying squirrel, it was a fairly nice squirrel, but he was being hunted by something dangerous, by a fox. This fox had its own little fighter jet, and it was flying in the sky, chasing down the flying squirrel. It was a dogfight. The fox was shooting, and the flying squirrel was dodging and swerving and trying to get away. Oh, and man, it was dangerous. When suddenly, boom, chocolate milk flew everywhere. The flying squirrel was a little flabbergasted, but able to get away in the confusion. The fox, he was completely befuddled. His jet was all messed up, and he had to eject and go in his parachute down to the ground. And boy, was the fox angry. He landed on the ground looking for who caused this mess. And he looked and he saw there, right in the center of town, was Kickman and Hedgehog, treated like heroes, being given the key to the city by the mayor. Oh, and he looked at him, he pointed, and he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Hey, you, Spitman!" Now, everyone was very confused, because it was well known that the guy's name was Kickman, since he was, so good at kicking. But the fox called him Spitman, and that was incredibly disrespectful. But this fox was determined. He would not call the man Kickman, he would be called Spitman, because it made the fox want to spit whenever he looked at him. He looked at that man and he spit, and he said, "Ah, Spitman!" Spitman, still very confused, walked over to the fox to try and work out their issues. Hedgehog came along just in case cuddles were needed. Well, the fox got even angrier when Spitman or Kickman came close, and he turned from his regular red to gold Colorado. That was the shade of his cheeks, gold Colorado. And I don't know if you've ever seen a fox with gold Colorado cheeks, but boy, it is a scary sight to see. So the Kickman walked up and he said his handy dandy catchphrase, and that was, "It's kicking time." But then, unbeknownst to the fox, he pulled a new card out of his playbook. Usually, all the Kickman does is kick, but he was feeling extra special. So he decided he would throw like a football the hedgehog. He picked up Hedgehog and threw him like a football full speed. Now, he didn't throw it with the speed of a moving train, but he did throw it with the speed of a supersonic jet. Went the Hedgehog. And as he was thrown at that high speed, he broke the sound barrier and the light barrier and the color barrier and transformed suddenly from a regular old football-like hedgehog into a glowing blue, lightningous, luminous, kicking machine known as Sonic. Boom, boom, boom. Sonic was going full speed through the air, kicking leg out. Now, since he was finally fulfilling his destiny as Kickman's sidekick, as Sonic the KickHodge. And then, bammy! He kicked the fox square in the golden Colorado cheeks. And Fox began to spin and spin and spin. He spun more than you've ever seen anything spin before. He spun around the entire city. He spun around the entire house. He spun and around until finally he ran into Nolan. And Nolan was right there looking at him and said, "Hey, Fox, what are you doing?" And the fox was so dizzy. He was so dizzy and so mad. He said, "Oh, you get out of my way, Nolan. I know from my history books that someone somewhere made money. There was money being made in history, and I want to be one of those people. And I was about to make lots of money by catching that flying squirrel. But then Kickman and Hedgehog, now known as Sonic the KickHodge, stopped me. Oh, I'm so mad." Well, it turned out that Nolan was friends with Kickman and Sonic the KickHodge. So he just gave him a little ring on the cell phone, and they bam ran over real fast because it turns out Sonic the Hedgehog is very, very fast. And they came over, and the fox said, "Oh, I hate you, Spitman." And Sonic the KickHodge looked at him and said, "You don't call my main man Mr. Spitman. That's Kickman to you." And waka-pow! Sonic kicked the fox back to his foxy home. And he looked over and he said, "Wow, I feel satisfied."